The command deck of the Earth vessel Defiance was unlike anything Zara 9 had ever seen. Where most ships featured elegant curves and harmonious designs, this vessel was all straight lines and functional surfaces. Screens displayed tactical information in harsh, bright colors, and humans moved with the efficient precision of a species that had learned to fight for every advantage. Final count shows 2,734 Kethara survivors recovered, reported a human officer to Admiral Rodriguez. Medical teams are setting up treatment areas for trauma and malnutrition. Admiral Rodriguez was older than most of the crew, with gray hair and lines around her eyes that spoke of difficult decisions. She stood before the main tactical display, watching as the last Devourer hive ship tried desperately to escape the system. "Let them go?" asked Captain Chen. "No," Rodriguez replied firmly. "They came here to commit genocide. If we let them leave, they'll just do this to someone else." Zara 9 watched in fascination as the human fleet moved to intercept the fleeing vessel. The Devourers had started this battle with 12 massive ships and absolute confidence in their superiority. Now they had one damaged vessel limping toward the edge of the system, and the humans were pursuing with methodical determination. "I don't understand how this is possible," Elder Vash 1 said quietly. He had been given a mobility chair designed for Kethara physiology, and his wisdom crown pulsed with the slow rhythms of deep thought. "The Devourers have consumed hundreds of species. Their ships are biological weapons refined over millions of years of evolution. How are humans defeating them so easily?" "It's not easy," Admiral Rodriguez replied, overhearing the question. "We've lost 4 ships and 63 crew members. But we've been preparing for this fight longer than anyone realizes." She gestured to the tactical display, where the last Devourer ship was surrounded by human vessels. "When we joined the Union 50 years ago, we asked for all available data on extinct civilizations. Most species thought it was academic curiosity. We were actually looking for patterns." The display zoomed in to show the historical data, hundreds of worlds that had fallen to various threats over the millennia. Every time a civilization fell, the Union wrote it off as an inevitable tragedy. Natural disaster, internal collapse, random violence from unknown threats. But we saw something else. Zara 9 studied the data streams, beginning to see what the humans had noticed. The threats were always the same type: overwhelming force, unprecedented capabilities, entities that existing doctrine couldn't handle. Exactly. The galaxy has been peaceful for so long that most species have forgotten how to fight real threats. Your people were mediators. The Altarians were explorers. The Zenthari were philosophers. When something truly dangerous appeared, no one knew how to respond. On the display, the final Devourer ship shuddered under concentrated human fire. Its biological hull began to crack, releasing the twisted energy patterns that powered its consciousness-consuming abilities. "But humans," Admiral Rodriguez continued, "we've been fighting existential threats our entire history. Ice ages, asteroid impacts, plagues, natural disasters, and each other. We learned that survival isn't about being the strongest or the smartest. It's about being the most adaptable." The Devourer ship exploded in a burst of unnatural light, its destruction sending ripples through the local space that made every ship's sensors scream warnings. As the energy dispersed, something remarkable happened. The orange sky of Kethara Gamma began to clear, returning to its natural crystalline blue as the Devourer's influence faded. "All Devourer vessels destroyed," reported Captain Chen. "System is clear." A cheer went up from the human crew, but Admiral Rodriguez remained focused on the larger picture. "Begin deployment of construction ships. I want monitoring stations established at every jump point in this system. If anything like the Devourers ever comes back, we'll know about it long before they arrive." Zara 9 felt a deep gratitude that went beyond words. "Admiral, we can never repay what you've done for us." "You don't owe us anything," Rodriguez replied. "But the galaxy owes you a debt." The Kethara spent 12,000 years keeping the peace, mediating conflicts, preventing wars that could have torn the Union apart. When you needed help, everyone else ran. That's not acceptable. Over the following days, as human ships worked to establish permanent defensive positions around the Cathara system. Zara 9 began to understand just how much the galaxy was about to change. The humans didn't just rescue survivors and leave. They brought construction equipment to rebuild the damaged cities, medical technology to help heal the trauma of devourer attacks, and defensive systems that could detect and repel similar threats from light years away. "We're not going anywhere," explained Commander Sarah Chen when Zara 9 asked about the permanent installations. "The Cathara are under human protection now. Anyone who wants to threaten you will have to go through us first." But it wasn't just military protection. The humans brought teachers who helped traumatized survivors process their experiences, engineers who worked with Cathara crystal singers to create hybrid technologies that combined human adaptability with Cathara harmony, and diplomats who began reaching out to other species with a simple message. The message arrived at every major Union world simultaneously, broadcast on all frequencies with the authority of a species that had just accomplished the impossible. "This is Admiral Sarah Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Fleet, speaking for the human government and people. Recent events in the Cathara system have revealed a fundamental flaw in how the Galactic Union responds to existential threats. When the Devourers attacked, a civilization that had spent 12 millennia serving the galaxy was abandoned to face extinction alone." Zara 9 watched the broadcast from the Bridge of the Defiance, surrounded by human officers who treated her not as a refugee, but as a colleague deserving of respect. "This is unacceptable and will not be tolerated in the future. Effective immediately, Earth is establishing the Mutual Defense Compact. Any species that agrees to mutual assistance in times of crisis will receive the full protection of human military forces. We don't abandon our friends, we don't calculate the cost of doing what's right, and we don't make promises we're not prepared to keep." The response from the Union was immediate and chaotic. Some species accused the humans of warmongering, of trying to establish military dominance. Others, especially those who had witnessed the Cathara abandonment, began quietly reaching out to discuss membership in the new compact. "They're afraid," Elder Vash 1 observed during one of his daily conversations with Zara 9. His wisdom crown had begun to glow more brightly as he processed the implications of recent events. For thousands of years, the galaxy has operated on the assumption that truly dangerous threats were rare, manageable, or someone else's problem. "And now?" Zara 9 asked. "Now they realize that the only thing standing between them and extinction is a species they considered primitive and violent. It's forced them to confront some uncomfortable truths about themselves." 3 months after the battle, representatives from 47 species had joined the Mutual Defense Compact. The humans established training centers where other species could learn combat tactics, threat assessment, and crisis response. They shared technologies that had been dismissed as too aggressive by Union standards, but which proved essential for dealing with real dangers. The Cathara, as the first species saved under the compact, became something of a symbol for the new order. Their crystal cities were rebuilt with human defensive technologies integrated seamlessly into their harmonic structures. The resulting hybrid architecture was both beautiful and practically indestructible. "You know what I find most remarkable?" Zara 9 said to Commander Chen during the dedication ceremony for the new Cathara Prime Defense Grid. "It's not that humans proved to be warriors, it's that you proved to be exactly the kind of warriors the galaxy needed." Chen, now promoted to Admiral for her role in the rescue, smiled. "What do you mean? Most species see strength as the ability to destroy enemies. But humans showed strength as the willingness to protect friends. You didn't come here to conquer or to prove your superiority. You came because someone called for help." Around them, the crystal spires of the rebuilt city sang in harmony with the human-built monitoring stations, creating music that was both alien and familiar. Children of various species played together in the gardens, protected by defensive systems that could detect threats from across the galaxy. "Where I come from," Chen replied, "we have a saying, no one left behind. It's not just a military motto. It's how we think about everything. Family, community, civilization itself. If someone needs help and we can provide it, we do. No calculations, no committees, no debates about cost-effectiveness. We just help." In the months that followed, the galaxy learned that the Devourers had not been an isolated threat. The human monitoring networks detected 17 other extinction-level dangers approaching various Union worlds. Ancient weapon systems activating, predator species awakening from dormancy, and cosmic phenomena that could sterilize entire solar systems. Each time, human fleets responded immediately, often arriving at threatened worlds before the local governments even realized they were in danger. Each time, they brought not just weapons and warriors, but teachers, builders, and protectors who stayed until the threats were permanently neutralized. The union that emerged from these crises was fundamentally different from the one that had existed before. Military preparedness became as important as diplomatic harmony. Mutual defense was no longer optional, but expected, and at the center of it all were the humans, who had proven that sometimes the most civilized response to violence is superior violence, applied with precision and moral purpose. Zara 9 often stood on the observation deck of the rebuilt Keth Era Prime, looking out at the stars and thinking about the message she had sent into the void during their darkest hour. She had asked the universe to remember her people, to remember that they had tried to make the galaxy a better place. What she received in return was something unprecedented, a species that didn't just remember, but acted. The humans had heard their call for help and responded not because it was profitable or safe or easy, but because it was right. In saving the Kethara, humanity had saved something more important. The idea that civilization meant protecting the weak, not abandoning them. That strength was measured not by what you could destroy, but by what you chose to preserve. And as the crystal spires sang their harmonic songs enhanced by human engineering, as children of a dozen species played safely in gardens protected by human weapons, as the galaxy slowly learned to stand together against the darkness between the stars, Zara 9 knew that her people's 12,000 years of service had not been in vain. They had been the mediators, the peacekeepers, the ones who believed the universe was fundamentally good. When that belief was tested to its breaking point, the universe had sent exactly what they needed. Warriors who fought not for conquest, but for the same belief in goodness that the Kethara had always carried. Sometimes, the last ones you expected to save you were precisely the ones the universe had been preparing for that moment all along.